Thanks happens more than once a year in November. You can say thank you actually in December, January, February. You can say thank you anytime you want, and it reaps a lot of rewards. 90% of supervisors like this reported on radio station KLOS. One time I was listening on the way to work, and they came up with this claim. They says 90% of all supervisors like this one trait from their employees based upon their survey. What is it? This is a surprise. Thank you. They like to hear the word thank you from their employee, 90%, not only to themselves, but they also like to hear employees thanking each other for doing different things to support each other in the process. I was at a college and I was talking to a faculty member when I was a vice president of human resources and made the comment that students have to earn my respect. I says, I really disagree with you. I think you give them respect, and if they do something wrong, you can take it away from them. But you give it to them first because they really are a person entitled to dignity and respect initially upon meeting them. He says, well, he says, I don't believe it. I said, I can prove it to you. My grass is greener than yours. He looked at me puzzled. I said, I can prove it. And so I told him the story. We lived in an HOA, a homeowners association, and part of our fees paid for our front yards to be mowed and maintained by the association. So the gardeners come by, and we lived in the desert, and it gets hot sometimes, especially in summertime. So that being said, if somebody's doing work for us, we always appreciate it. If we have cold water in the refrigerator, we take it out. I've done a couple warm water ones, and I used to go to the store, buy jars of cashews. I'd sit there and grab a handful, stuff them into a plastic bag, take them out. If there's somebody working for us, I want them to be happy to come back. It really didn't occur to me I would end up getting some side benefits out of it because it's just part of our family culture that we always sit down there and take care of people doing work around our house for us that's going to benefit us. So we ended up doing that. And lo and behold, we didn't pay attention to it, but we found out that, we sat there and our yard was greener. Well, we kept it up and we're kind of figuring this out. We baked cookies one day and the gardeners were outside. There's 3 of them out there. So we gave them all cookies. And that being said, then it dawned on us that they're coming by, they're spending more time at our house than anybody else is in the neighborhood. Because number one, a lot of times when you have people that do regular service in your area, you kind of forget about them in the background. We don't, because we appreciate the work that they do because they're human beings, number one. And we have a philosophical thought about treating everybody with dignity and respect. Our grass was greener, our shrubs were better trimmed, our whole yard was better than the entire neighborhood's. Our grass was greener than everybody else's, and I'll bet better than that faculty members. If you do that with dignity and respect, it's a big deal to somebody, especially those people that are service workers who kind of get lost in the background. I used to work out at LA Fitness all the time, and there was a custodian, and I would go by, and I would always make a comment, "Good morning," and they learned her name, called her by name, and everything else. So they just want to be, but that's just about all I did. And it didn't occur to me until months later that she would sit down and position herself, so I would walk by her, okay, to say hi, and that was it. It wasn't a big deal, and I was surprised to see that. But some people, they don't have a kind word said to them, and I have no problem doing that. And guess what? It's free to do that. We have a nephew of ours, Jason Cork. He was phenomenal. There's something about Jason Cork. He could sell refrigerators up in Alaska without a problem. He could sit down and sell a barbecue pit in the middle of the Sahara Desert. This guy had skills beyond belief. And one thing I learned from him is Jason says, you always call them by their name. Okay, Jason, I kid you not, he could buy a jet ski, a snowmobile, a car, whatever. He'd toss on a couple of things on it for $200 and sell it for $3,000 more. He was a money-making machine. And the way he did it was he always remembered their name. He remembered all kinds of things. He remembered the specific things about that person as an individual. There was a person called Jack Randall. Jack Randall was president of a college. He retired, and I happened to hire him as a consultant, and he was great to work with. Jack was a former college president. He's 6'4". We played racquetball a couple times. He cheated nonstop. He'd stand right in the middle of the court with these giant long arms. I had to hit him a couple times with that racquetball. It was tough. He was tough. But that said, I went off to a conference, Jack had retired 10 years before, and somebody said, "Hey, did you work with that Jack Randall?" I said, "Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, he's one of our consultants." And she told me, she says, "You know what? It's been a long time, but I'll never forget him. One day my son was going to college there, and he waves across the parking lot. He says, 'Hey, Judy, is that your boy there? Didn't he just graduate?' He knew my name. We had 50,000 students. We had almost 4,000 people working at college, and he remembered my name, and he only met me 2 times that I could ever recall in a one-on-one environment. That's incredible. Apparently, Jack would interview everybody in the first month of their employment. He had 4x6 cards on every single employee. He talked to them. He'd write personal information down. He'd say, how many kids do they have as they're coming to school? He asked them questions, and it was only 15 minutes long. And he had that card file. If he come across them, he'd flip through his card file, going through them and everything else. He remembered people's names. It's a big thing. Dignity and respect belongs almost everywhere you come across. It comes across in corporate cultures. You'll see that because, by the way, your culture is set from the top down. And then what cultural courtesies does your organization provide each other? Do you say hello to each other, or you just kind of grunt when you go by? Okay. When you're driving and changing lanes, we have a culture too. Sometimes it's not a very good culture. Are we non-judgmental of others? We all have problems we face in life, and sometimes personal lives flow into the workplace and vice versa to go through. Do we maintain non-judgmental as to who and what they are? So here's 5 messages of goodwill. Be selfless, be specific, be sincere, be spontaneous, and keep it short. It all works. The 5 S's of goodwill messages. Saying thank you is a really good thing. I struggle sometimes in writing thank you notes, that I'm not wired that way, but I make a point of doing it in the aspect there. Show appreciation for others. Thank you notes, they're short, they're on note paper, they're on a card. They're maybe 3 sentences long sometimes. Sometimes you write a formal letter, but saying thank you is a big deal. And as a business person, you can build goodwill by thanking others gracefully inside your organization and also outside your organization as you go through. So saying thank you, send a brief note expressing appreciation, and tell them how good the message made you feel if you receive one, and then accept the praise graciously. Don't make, well, I'm not really deserving it. Don't say things like that because somebody thought you did. Accept the praise graciously and say, I really appreciate that. Using email for goodwill messages works really well. It's very common on a phone call. Express goodwill too. Somebody helps you. I say, my comment on them, you know what? You have really been the best message I had all day. Thank you so much for helping me. You would be surprised how that carries a lot of weight, because you may have to call them back and get that same person. They may not remember your name or the issue, but they'll remember that you were a kind person to them. So an email can precede a phone call or handwritten message. So go through and make certain that you're saying thank you on a regular basis, because thanks happens more than just once a year. Take care.